Adversity is probably like one of my favorite words in the dictionary right now. Everybody always looks at me and talks about perseverance and all of that, but adversity is what got me to where I am, man. It built my character, and it built my faith. Because when you going through certain things, you can't depend on your strength alone. I moved, I get to Northwood, and I liked it because one majority of the student body was football players. So anybody who know me know I love football players. So I was just like in heaven. But aside from that, I liked it. The school set up and everything. I liked it. My class schedule, it was cool. I had talked to the coach, and he had set up my tryout date and everything. And of course, because I'm a student, I have free access to the gym and everything. So I had to train on my own to get ready for the tryout. And I stayed in like this hallway, and then probably like a hallway over was where all of the basketball players stayed at. And as much as a people person that some people might think I am, I'm kind of shy when it comes to like introducing myself. I used to be when it comes to like introducing myself in the basketball realm. So I didn't like go introduce myself to the girls or nothing like that. And I just would go work out every day. I didn't really touch a ball because I was still recovering. I was still dealing with the headaches and everything. So I didn't really hoop yet. I spent like my first 2 weeks just grinding, just working out and cardio and just, trying to get myself that type of ready. Versus, the game thing, I feel like that's kind of natural. You might get rusty, but your game is kind of natural. I went home my first weekend because my cousin's birthday. I promised her, I think it was like her 21st birthday, and I promised her I would come home for her birthday. And Norfolk was like 4 hours away from the city, 4.5 hours away from the city. So I came home and then went back to school, trained. The second week I came home and I get a phone call at probably 7 o'clock at night. And the phone call was from my elementary coach, Shaw, my elementary middle school coach, Shaw, who I've said before is like my dad. And he was like crying. And he was like, "Have you heard about Raheem?" Now Raheem is one of the little guys that played on the elementary team. My elementary school and my middle school, most of us all, as we moved up in our grade, that's when our school became a middle school. So all of us kind of just went to middle school and elementary school together. So we were just a big family. Like we've had the same teachers and everything for 8 years. So that kind of just was like, wow. Like, now I gotta go home. Because I think his funeral was that weekend. And I think he called me on like a Tuesday or something like that. His funeral was that weekend. And he was talking, and I just sat there and pretty much listened to him talking, crying. I'm like, he, you know how somebody try to stay strong, and they, they not really crying, but I could hear it in them, like it hurt. So knowing how close I am to him, I had to be there for him. Like for my pops, I had to be there. Like even if I didn't really want to, go to the funeral and see my little dude laid up like that, but I had to be there for my pops because that was like his son. Like, he was like that with all of us. So that was like his kid, and that I know what Raheem meant to him. So I had to go home to be there for him. And I went home that weekend, and Raheem got killed on, I want to say, September 18th. His 18th birthday would have been September 21st. So I went home for the funeral. We did the funeral. I came back to school. And September 21st, on his birthday, I went to the gym. And this was probably like my second time touching the ball. And I hooped. And prior to me hooping, the first time I tried to hoop, I got close to one of the singers who had just left the team, the women's team. And she was like working the front counter for the rec center, like the convention center where you come and hoop and stuff at. She was like, "The girls are in there. They have an open round right now, so I think you should go in there and lace up and hoop with them." So I'm like, okay. So I went in there, and as I began to take my shoes off, I took my shoes off and started putting my basketball stuff on. The team was white, for lack of a better word. The whole team was white, and they stopped in the middle of their game when I got ready to step on the court and walk off the court. Like, they didn't want to play with me. So from that moment on, I didn't try to play with them. Like, I would just play with the guys. The men's team would come in there at like 9 o'clock at night every night and hoop. And from that moment, I just trained so hard. Like, I'm like, dog, like, okay, I got something to prove now. Me going to the high school that I went to, it prepared me for situations like that. Because I feel like we in a world right now where everybody try to put everybody in the same category. And that's not the case. So going to Fitzgerald showed me that not all white people are the same. Aside from all of that, it just prepared me for the world, because we had one of the most diverse high schools. So to have to encounter with different, nationalities and everything like that, it prepared me for a situation like that, and not to completely blow my mind, and I could have spazzed out and went off on everybody if I would have still had my Detroit mentality. So I'm getting all wrapped up out of the situation, but so that was my first time touching the ball, was when I tried to hoop with them, and then I ended up hooping with the guys. So I had hooped a few times with the guys, and this particular day I was playing. I had worked out really hard, and I ended up playing a few games. We had won like 3 or 4 games in a row, and it was like 9:15. This is crazy to me that I still remember all the details of this day. It was 9:15, and I looked at my phone, and they was like, play one more. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm tired. Like, I'm ready to go to the house. I've been playing for forever. Like, I'm ready to just go lay down. And they're like, play one more. So I'm like, all right. So I get the ball, and I'm, just playing around, because I know, like, well, I ain't playing around, but I'm not, like, trying to hurry up and score, because it ain't nobody coming after me. They knew they were about to lose. So I dribbled, and I took my first step to go up for a left-hand layup, and my knee popped out of place the other way. Like, it popped out of place backwards. And then it hurt, it popped back forward real hard, and I just hit the ground. And as y'all can hear, my voice is very monotone. I have a very deep voice for a female, and I screamed like a soprano. Like, like I screamed like my life was being taken out of me. And I still remember like hearing it echo, because the whole gym got quiet and everybody just was coming over to the court, and I was just screaming. And I was sitting on the floor, and I was just opening and closing my leg, as if because I was opening and closing my leg, I was okay. Like, it wasn't nothing wrong with my leg. So when I finally calmed down, I couldn't really feel my leg. Like, it was throbbing, but it wasn't a hurt. It was just like a throb, and I couldn't really feel it. And I don't know if it was because of my adrenaline or what, but they helped me up, and they took me over. It was like a bench type thing, and they was talking to me, and they're like, man, like, they explained to me what it looked like and all of that. So as I'm talking, my knee is swelling as they talking to me, and I'm like, man, I gotta go to the hospital, and I'm hurt, and I'm calling my mama. I call my mama, and I'm crying. I'm just crying. She's like, what's wrong? And I told her, like, I hurt my knee. I don't know what's wrong. Like, I just know I hurt it, and it's like I said, it's like 9, 10 o'clock now. So I'm like, well, I'm about to go to the hospital. But the issue with that was, me and my roommate at the time, I'm not even gonna say we had fell out. Like, I don't know what this girl problem was, but she just like wasn't messing with me no more. So I called her, and I couldn't get her on the phone. And then one of the football players from Fitzgerald that actually went up to Northwood too, he couldn't take me. And then my RA, at first I couldn't get her on the phone. And then I had got pretty cool with one of the cheerleaders. Her name was Taryn. She just sat with me until I got somebody on the phone. And then I finally got my RA. My RA came. In the hospital, like, the school, Northwood, sits directly in the middle of the woods. And then when you drive out, it's like a little trail. You drive out, and then the hospital sits on the other side of the woods. Like, this is the school in the middle of the woods. Then there's some more woods. And then the hospital sits, like, in front of it, off the main road. So she drives me out, and we get out there, and of course, like, when you hurt yourself like that, they give you an x-ray. The x-ray doesn't show anything unless you actually broke your leg, and I knew I didn't break my leg. So the funny thing is, like, the doctor was like, yeah, I think you just kind of like strained or tore some ligaments back there. But there's a lot of like stringy ligaments. Like, now that I think about it, the doctor, like, I don't think he should have been a doctor, but he was like, there's a lot of like stringy ligaments and stuff back there, so you might have just tore a few of them. You'll be okay. And I'm like, I've been playing basketball for a long time, and I just saw a lot of. One of my teammates in high school tore her ACL twice, so I knew what was wrong, but I just didn't want to say it. So that night they had gave me some Narcos, like some pain pills, and I didn't have anything on my stomach because I had been in the gym all day. So when I got back to my room, I couldn't sleep because I just cried the whole night. I cried until probably like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. My friend Shayla at the time, man, she stayed up with me. Like, knowing she had to go to school the next morning, she stayed up with me that whole night and just listened to me cry. Like, I just was crying because I was hurting so bad. And I knew something was wrong, and they had put me in a straight leg cast, and I was just uncomfortable. So that night, like 5 o'clock in the morning, I finally was able to fall asleep, and I think I missed my first class. But when I woke up, I threw up everything because the pain medicine was too strong, and I didn't have anything on my stomach. So I threw up, and then I told you my roommate at the time, she wasn't messing with me, but she came, and she just happened to be in the room that day. And she came in, and she actually like cleaned up all my throw up, and then she dipped. I didn't see her no more after that. And I came back to my room, and I was telling my mom I want to stick it out. I want to finish the semester, and then I'll come home. And I had already scheduled for my MRI, which, like I said, I already knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to say it. But I had already scheduled my MRI, and the sucky part about me tearing my ACL was, one, I tore it on my little dude's birthday. So I was just like playing so hard. And then my tryout was that next Tuesday for the team, and I ended up tearing my leg up. My mom was like, okay. So I called my grandma and I told her the same thing. And she didn't accept it, I guess. Like, she told me okay, then she hung up the phone and called my aunt. And like, I want to say a couple hours later, my aunt called me and was like, no, like, we on the way. Like, I'm about to come and get you. Keep in mind, I'm 4 hours away from the city. So I'm like, what you mean you coming to me? She like, you're gonna drop, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna drop out all your classes. Like, we sat on the phone, and she, like, my aunt is the college one in the family. Like, she's been in college, she has multiple degrees and all that. So she was like, we're gonna drop you out of your classes, like, this gonna happen. We'll get you back in school, but you gotta get home. Like, I don't wanna leave you up there. So she told me to start packing whatever I could pack. Of course, I'm in a straight leg cast and I'm on crutches, so I think the only thing I was able to do was take my sheets and my cover off the bed, and I just kind of like snatched them off the bed. I don't really think I packed anything. And her and my grandma hopped in. My aunt was driving a Ford Fusion at the time, a newer Ford Fusion. And her and my grandma hopped in the car and drove up there, and they got there at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And they packed up everything I had in that room except for my clothes in the closet. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. And one, I didn't want to be here. And I just think that that knee injury was my sign. Like, you're not supposed to be here. And it, like, ultimately that injury changed me, which anybody who goes through an ACL injury or a knee injury for that matter, it changes you as a player. And it not only changed me as a player, but it changed me as a person. So now I'm depressed, like clear bone depressed. I'm sitting in my grandma's house. I'm not playing basketball. I'm hurt. I can't walk. Like, it was horrible. I don't want to be back in the city. I'm here. And I go have this MRI done, and of course I found out I tore my ACL and my meniscus. Mentally, I was shocked. Like, maybe I'm not supposed to be playing basketball because, like, stuff keep happening now. Like, ever since I had this concussion, like, it seemed like ain't nothing going right. And as soon as I try to make some strides to be a college athlete, like, something go wrong. So I'm like, man, like, maybe this ain't for me. Maybe I ain't supposed to hoop no more. I had to go legit almost legit a whole month before I could have surgery. And that's frustrating in itself. I remember going to see my doctor, like, please give me a surgery date. Please give me a surgery date. And he just wasn't as good as I'm feeling like I'm walking and all of that, like my extension had to be good, everything. And if it wasn't good, he wasn't giving me a surgery day. When I finally got to that point, he gave it to me and I had surgery November 13th. And that's when the healing process kind of starts. And of course, you know what I'm saying, you start rehab. And I remember my first day going back to my appointment. I had my surgery on a Friday. My first follow-up appointment was that Monday, and I was in so much pain. I remember going into the doctor, and he bent my knee for the first time. I hadn't bent it, and he bent it, like just pushed it in, and I went crazy. Like in my rehab session, he sent me from the appointment. He sent me straight to rehab. Injuries are mental. It's a lot more mental than it is physical, because physically, eventually your body is gonna get back to normal. It might just take a while, but your body does exactly what your mind tells you to do. So if your mind telling your body I'm hurting and I can't do this, then that's what your body gonna take. So the more like mentally I was ready to play. That's what I'm telling myself. So I'm about to do everything in my power to get back to this court, and it just, my body wasn't responding like that because I was rushing too far. So I had to actually allow myself to heal and ease back into it. At the end of that semester, I was outside raking one day, and Coach Brown, who was the head women's coach at Wayne County Community College. She was my position coach when I was at Fitzgerald. And she was riding down the street one day with one of her players, and she stopped and saw me. And she asked me, like, what was I doing? Because she had remembered me getting hurt and all of that. And I explained to her, like, I was just, you know what I'm saying, still at Schoolcraft, but I hadn't did anything. Like, I really was just trying to get in shape. She was like, have you signed anything at Schoolcraft? I'm like, nah, not yet. She was like, okay, don't. Because I might be getting my program back this year. And I want you. I want to build my team around you. And I'm like, okay. So once again, as I stated, community college was like beneath you when I was growing up. But not only was it beneath you, but Wayne County was definitely beneath you. Like, Wayne County had the worst reputation out of community colleges in the state of Michigan. And I'm just like, bro, I'm not going in on WC3. Like, that's dead. Like, no. You talking about WC3 with the commercial? Like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, so I more or less was gonna make the decision to go there because of her, because of knowing her as a coach. Like, signing day, like, was coming up, and I had already had a conversation with Coach Brown about coming to Wayne County, and we had kind of set in stone that that's where I was going. And I had chopped it up with my mom and everybody, and at this point, like, now I'm making this decision on my own because I'm focused on my happiness, and my mom and them let me, you know what I'm saying, my mom and them step back and let me do it. So I signed with Wayne County, and I come and I play my first year at Wayne County. And of course, your first year back playing, it's a struggle because you trying to find your identity as a player again. And I of course wasn't the same player I was before. I didn't have the same explosiveness. I didn't have the same aggressive. I didn't have the same just oomph that I had, and I couldn't. That was hard for me to swallow. I was like the youngest player on the team, and a lot of the older players were okay with giving me the leadership role. So me playing at Fitzgerald, or just period in school, I've never really had to be the guy, like the leader. This is who we gonna look up to. I've always had good co-captains or whatever. So of course, my last year at Fitzgerald, I had to kind of grow into that role and accept that responsibility. And I think that little taste of it was preparing me once again for this situation, because this team was, everybody's older than me. I'm like 18, 19 on this team. Everybody's 21, 20, you know what I'm saying, a little bit older. And I'm like, y'all willing to follow me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all willing to follow me? And they were, so I had to, like, I was still trying to, I didn't want it though. Like, I just wanted to focus on me getting healthy and me just, you know what I'm saying, doing what I needed to do. I wanted to be selfish and just focus on myself, but I couldn't. So, but that first year we ended up doing okay. Like, it could have been better, but we ended up doing okay. I wanted to be better than the player I was before tearing my ACL. So I just trained my butt off that summer, like from running heels to a whole bunch of like mile bike rides and swimming, and I stayed in the gym. Like, I legit worked out that whole summer, and I was exactly where I wanted to be when I came back. Like, physically, my body, like my game had grew, like my shot, everything had grew. So I was exactly where I wanted to be. It showed when I was on the court. Like, my confidence was just at a new level. Like, I think the first game of the season I had like 21 points, like 7 rebounds or something like that. Like, I just was ready, and you could tell, like, okay, like, now she's back. This year I'm ready to embrace it. Like, I'm ready to embrace being a leader. So I was good, but what I wasn't used to being was the go-to player. That I've never been that. I've never been the player who we're gonna throw the ball to her and we just gonna hope for the best. Like, hopefully it work out. We go through the season, we make it to the Final Four, and I had a really good game in the Final Four game, but I had the flu. No. I had an upper respiratory infection or pneumonia, one of the two. Like, it's like the same thing. But I had that, and I had like a really high fever. So I was only playing like probably 2 minutes at a time. Like, I would play 2 minutes and my coach would take me out because I couldn't breathe. Like, and my body was turning red. And I think I still ended up being like the leading scorer. But I was like dying on the court. And after the game, I remember we ended up losing by like 20 or something, 20, 25. I remember after the game, my body was red. Like, my whole body was red. And all of the trainers were just running to go get me cold towels and stuff. Because I was like, my body was on fire after the game, and my mom and everybody was at the game, and it was crazy. But I tell everybody, man, my second year at Wayne County was probably my most successful year. But that season, I won every award you can win on the junior college level, except for All-American. And the only reason I didn't win All-American is because our record sucked. Like, even though we made it to the Final Four, our record still sucked. So I didn't get it. But I got like all MCCAA honors. I got all region, all conference, and it was something else that I got. But I did that, and I remember the article came out, and my coach, like, somebody posted it, and I saw it, and I'm like, okay. And then my coach called me and was telling me, like, you know what I'm saying, you won this and that, this and that. And I was just playing it cool on the phone. And then when I got off the phone, I cried my eyes out, man, because I had went through hell and hot water to become that player. Like, so how hard I had worked, you know what I'm saying, that summer, like, it paid off. And just knowing, you know what I'm saying, what I had went through with my knee, and being at a school that I didn't want to be at, and then being at Wayne County, and, you know what I'm saying, feeling like it was below me and all that, and all these great things had happened. So it was just like a sigh of relief. Like, finally, like, I felt like I had a breakthrough. Like, man, okay, so if I win every award that you can win on the junior college level, I averaged a double-double. Like, my stats were magnificent. I had the grades. I was everything I was supposed to be my sophomore year, and I didn't have not one offer on the table. Not one. So, as I went through, as if y'all can't notice a reoccurring theme here, my taste with the recruiting process hasn't been a good one. Starting in elementary school, like middle school, it hasn't been good. So, I just like, that's discouraging when you feel like you done went through the same thing on 3 different levels. Like, you've had to go through the same thing. So I'm like, at this point, I'm not, but I've been through it twice. So the thing about going through something is you can either go through it or you can get through it. And when you go through something, if you're just going through it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go through it again until you figure out what it is you're supposed to learn in the midst of you going through it. So when you get through something, that means you got through it. You're not going back through it again because you figured out whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, that you have to get through. in the midst of not knowing where I was going, I just kept training. Like I didn't know where I was going. I knew I was going out of state. I knew that was my plans, and I just kept training. Like I knew where I was going. Like I'm talking about every day. I was waking up, going to go run the hill on the Riverwalk. It used to be a big hill on the Riverwalk, and we would go run that, and then probably get in the gym later. I did not take a day off. I kept training. I kept training. I kept training, not knowing what I was training for. So now, me and my coach, my assistant coach, that's who was working me out every day, and I just was telling him like, Coach, what we gonna do? Like I don't know how to go about this, and I was very honest with that. Like, you know what I'm saying, I had went through the recruiting process the first time, and it just didn't go good like I wanted it to go. So I'm like, whatever, you know what I'm saying, I need to do, that's what I'm gonna do. So whatever you tell me to do, that's what I'm gonna do. And he went to church one Sunday, and one of his church members used to play for Tennessee State, and he explained to her like my situation, like I didn't have any looks and that I had the grades, and that like it was just an awkward situation for me because I didn't have like, you know what I'm saying, nothing on the table, and I had did everything I was supposed to do, and I was really trying to get to the next level. So he explained it to her, and she like they talked for a minute, and she asked him like, is she really what you make her out to be? Like, is she really good? Because if not, I'm not about to put my name on the line for her. And he told her, and she wrote a Facebook status about me, just like, I know this player here, she got the grades, and I'm trying to get her somewhere, blah blah. And a few coaches commented, it was just like, where's the film on her? Can we see some film on her? And all I had was the big games, and everybody was asking for a highlight tape. I didn't have time to wait. I really was trying to, you know what I'm saying, get it figured out. So I had an iPhone 4 at the time. And I downloaded the app on my phone. And it was like a stop and go app. And then I had all my film. I had like 7 or 8 games. And no, it might not have been that many. It probably was like 4. And I had this old desktop computer at my grandma's house. And I put the film in. And I made my own highlight tape with my phone up to the computer screen. When you go listen to my highlight tape on YouTube now, like if you go type up my name, you watch it and you can hear my dog barking in the background. And I'm like, shh, like be quiet, Stewie. I made it. I made the highlight tape, and he gave it to her, and we posted it on YouTube. And they gave everybody. She posted the link in the comments for the on that same Facebook status, and probably like a day or so later, man, like 6 or 7 coaches was commenting like, I want her info, like. So I'm getting excited just off of, you know what I'm saying, people wanting to talk or whatever, but I still ain't got no calls yet. So I kept training, and at the time I was getting ready for graduation from Wayne County with my associates, and my little brother, was getting ready to graduate from high school at the same time. Like we were probably graduating like 2 weeks apart. So I was getting ready for all of that on top of training. So I was just keeping myself focused. And probably a week after she posted that link, the head coach, who was my head coach, Jeremy Lewis, he called my assistant coach and offered me a full ride to come to Cumberland. And I was like my coach called me, and he was like, so what do you think about Tennessee? Like, I don't know, like I ain't never really been to Tennessee to visit. Like I've drove through Tennessee, but I've never been in Tennessee to visit, so I don't know. And he was like, well, what do you think about Tennessee to live? And I just started smiling, like what you mean? And he was like, he explained to me what had happened, and then he's like, I gave him your number, so he might be calling you. So in the midst of him talking, Coach Blue was calling me, like on the other line, so I told him I'm calling back, and I clicked over and was talking, and Coach Lou talked in my ear off for like the longest. Like I don't remember, but he was just talking. He told me the same thing, that he wanted to, you know what I'm saying, pay for me to come. He wanted me to come there and all of that, and I was trying to play it cool, like, all right, that's cool. That's a nice offer, but I want to come visit. Like, I want to come see the campus. So I'm thinking, like, I don't know how dude about to be like, all right, you gotta find your own way down here to come visit the school. That's what I'm thinking. But he's like, all right, wait on my budget to reset. Once it reset, I'm gonna get you down here, field visit. And sure enough, like a week or so later, man, he told me to send him my email. And I sent him my email. He emailed me my ticket, my flight ticket, and everything. So the day before I got ready to go on my visit to Cumberland, I got another phone call from Tuskegee University. And now I'm like tripping out, like wow, like now these schools coming out the woodwork. And Tuskegee, to me that's still an interesting phone call to me because it's a HBCU, and I've never even thought about going to a HBCU. So it just would have been a dope experience. But when I got to Cumberland, when I got down there, we met at the mall and we had lunch, and I met him and the other two assistant coaches at the time, which happened to be Coach Moore and Coach Bree, and chopped it up. And then we got to campus. Like, I just kind of fell in love with the campus. The campus is, Cumberland is small, like it's not a big college, and I definitely whenever I do get a chance to talk to kids, I definitely encourage them when they making decisions to not just base your decision based off of your athletic abilities. Because if you're not comfortable in the classroom and you're not comfortable in your academic situation, then it doesn't matter athletically. Because if that's not taken care of, then you're not going to be able to play. And if you're not able to play, you're not going to enjoy your experience. So in the end, you end up losing your scholarship if you don't handle what you're supposed to handle in the classroom. Before I left, like, my coach gave me my envelope with my letter of intent in it. And I explained to him, because they were like talking to me, and I think I had slipped and told Coach Bree like that my mind was already made up. And when we were out to dinner, and I explained to him, like, I was still giving him the if I signed with Cumberland, I would want to do it at home because this is a big deal to my family and my school. So he's like, okay, and he gave it to me, and I was able to take it home with me. And I remember writing an Instagram post about the envelope, like, man, it's different to hear offer versus actually having the papers in your hand and knowing how hard you work to get to this point. So after I wrote the post, the Tuskegee coach, I think he had followed me on Instagram or something like that. So he had, like, after he saw the post, he called me. He had called me like twice, but I was at my little brother's graduation. When I got home from Cumberland, my little brother's graduation was like the next day or something like that. So I was getting ready for my brother's graduation. I couldn't really answer the phone. And then when I finally was able to answer after the graduation, he was like, man, he was like, we lost you. And I was already wanted to call him because I'm like, yeah, like, I don't even want y'all to be struggling trying to figure out how y'all gonna get me to Tuskegee, you know what I'm saying? And for a visit that I know I'm not coming to the school. So it would be pointless for y'all to go through all of this in order for, you know what I'm saying, y'all to get me there. And I know I'm not going there. And he was just like, man, I respect that. Like, a lot of people would have just got a free visit and came, you know what I'm saying, and came, and that would have been that, knowing they didn't want to come here. So even to the end of my last season, man, he still would, like, comment on my stuff and just ask me how my season was going and everything like that. So that's something else I encourage kids, man. Like, don't never burn bridges. Like, not saying I'm ever going to need that man ever again in my life, but just the fact that I handled things in a proper manner. And I signed with Cumberland. I have a big, like, signing party at school and all of that, and it was just a really big deal. And I hadn't, like, really had a chance to get emotional. So my signing day, they asked me to talk, and I didn't want to talk. And I stood up and I started talking, and I just started crying. Like, I couldn't even get a word out. Like, I just started crying. And it was because I had a moment to sit down and just realize what was happening to me. Like, everything that I had prayed for, everything I had worked so hard for, I was getting. Like, I think 2 days before I was supposed to leave, 2 or 3 days before I was supposed to leave, man, I got a phone call and from the admission office down there, and they told me they was dropping all of my classes. And then I'm like, huh? Like, and it was because I couldn't get a transcript from Northwood after tearing my ACL and dropping school there, they said I owed them like $1,200 or something like that. So in order for me to get my transcript, I had to pay them this $200, and my school needed this transcript. And since I didn't have it at that particular time, they dropped all of my classes. So I went in my room and just cried. And I remember like my mom and my grandma and them was trying to figure it out, and somehow or another they came up with $200 in like 2 hours. I get down there, man. Everything was good. Me and my teammates were good, and of course this is my first year down here. So our first couple open gyms, man, I was eating in open gym. Like I had worked so hard. Like I was the size I wanted to be. Like I was good, and I was eating in open gyms. And our second to last open gym, I tweaked like my knee or something like that. And this was like right before our first official practice. I tweaked my knee, and my coach had never saw me play. I started trying to ease back into it, and I started getting a little comfortable, and then the season came around. And like second game of the season, I think we went to Middle Georgia or something like that, second, third or something like that game of the season. Went to Middle Georgia, and I tried to take a charge, and the girl, she jumped. Like in the midst of me going through the knee thing, I ended up catching another upper respiratory infection. So I'm struggling. Like even though it looked like I'm out of shape, I'm really not out of shape. I just can't breathe. And I'm going through all of this, and then we playing this game, and I try to take a charge, and the girl jumped instead of running into me. And I don't know what happened. Like I tried to block the shot after I realized she was jumping, and she didn't shoot the ball though. So she came down, and I was going up. Her teeth went into my nose, and she lost one of her front teeth, and I got a big gash in my nose. And once again, with the first concussion, I'm just shaking it off. And I think I was mad because the ref called it a foul on me. Like, he didn't even call it the charge, or he called it a foul on me. And I'm mad, and then I was standing there for like a second, and I felt a whole bunch of pressure in my face. And I looked, and I had blood all in my face, and I had to come out the game. And the trainer there told my coach that my nose was broken because I couldn't breathe. Like I was breathing out of my mouth, but I'm trying to explain to him like I was sick when I got here, so I wasn't breathing out of my nose to begin with. And but it was swelling up, and she just wasn't going. But then I was concussed either way it went. So I ended up getting a concussion, and I was out for 3 games at the beginning of the season. I sat out with the concussion, and then coming back from the concussion, I was trying to hurry, push, and come back because we were getting ready to play Freed Harmon. And Freed Harmon at the time was #1 in the nation. So I'm like, man, I want to play. So I ended up coming back, and we had a really good game against Freed, and I actually had a really good game against Freed. And I think we ended up losing though. But it was a good game. So now I'm starting to get back to normal. I'm still having some headaches, but I come down. We was in practice one day, and I was running, and I was supposed to be setting a pick over here, but I was running this way, and I tried to turn after I thought about it, like I'm supposed to be setting a pick over there, and I turned, but my body was still running that way, and my ankle popped, and I just hit the ground, and I was screaming, and all this other junk, and my knee, my ankle just wasn't right after that, and I iced and went to rehab and all of that, and it just wasn't right. Like, it just never was getting back to normal. And eventually my foot started to hurt. Like, it was more my foot, it wasn't my ankle. And I didn't tell my trainer that until later on, right before we got ready to leave for Christmas break. We was playing Reinhardt, the school called Reinhardt. That was our last game before Christmas break. And I was ready to go home and all of that, so I'm like, man, I just want to play this game. And my foot was killing me. And I ended up telling her before the game, and she kind of gave me a pad for my foot. And she was like, okay, you sprained your ankle a while back. And she was like, now you telling me it's your foot. That's not good. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm getting ready to go on Christmas break. I don't want no bad news. So she was like, all right, you got a choice. You can either wear this boot while you at home on your Christmas break, or you can stay home, you can stay here for a few more days before leaving, and we can get you an x-ray done before you leave. And I'm like, I don't want bad news before I leave, so I didn't want the x-ray out. I'm like, all right, I'll take the boot. So I wore the boot the whole time I was at home, and I came back to school after Christmas break, and I got the x-ray, and I found out I had a stress fracture in my foot. And prior, like, it wasn't broken. Like, my bone was just turning. It wouldn't break, though. It was just turning. And the doctor gave me a choice. He was like, you can, at this time, we were getting ready for the playoffs. And we had found out we had just lost our starting forward to grades. And he was like, you got a choice. You can keep playing, but you're going to have to stay in that boot for the rest of the season whenever you're off the court, or you can sit out for 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks would have put me right before the playoffs started, so it wasn't no guarantee that if I set out this time, we was going to get to the national tournament. And that was our ultimate goal, was to get to the national tournament. I ended up making a decision to keep playing, so I would play in games, and then when I got done with the game, I would have to go back in the booth, and whenever I was off the court, like anything, I wore one shoe for 6 months. And long story short, we get to the national tournament, and that's that. Like, we get there, and we ended up losing in the first round. And we after that, I knew I had to have surgery. Then I went through some turmoil, some things with my teammates in that off season with me being hurt, and it just kind of put me in a different headspace again going into my senior year. And then I found out, like, my coach wanted to redshirt me, and he called me in his office and he talked to me about sitting me for my senior year, just allowing me giving me a chance to get healthy, because like I said, he had never saw me play healthy, so he wanted, you know what I'm saying, to see me be able to play to my full potential. And it was like he had saw it in spurts. Like, he would get to see me healthy for a little bit, and then I get hurt, and it's, you know what I'm saying, he never get to see it in the game. So he wanted to give me that chance, and I was just humbled to even, you know what I'm saying, be considered for him to even want to give me extra time. But he did, and then we didn't end up finding out till like the week before pre-camp, I think, that I didn't have any more eligibility because of the full semester that I had registered for, that I was in at Northwood, and then my full semester at Schoolcraft. They charged me with those 2 full semesters, so that was a year that I lost because of being hurt, and I didn't have it to sit, so I had to play, and I found this out like a week or 2 weeks before pre-camp. So I remember like leaving this office crying, and he was like my assistant coach, Coach Marcy, came out, man, and I just cried on her shoulder, and she was like, all right, you got today. You got today to be hurt, you got today to cry, you got today to do whatever you need to do, but tomorrow when you wake up, we got to get to it. I'm thinking she playing. Bro, the next day, we was in the pool, like, at the rec center the next day, 5 o'clock, was it 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, man? We was in the pool, and she grounded it out with me, just trying to get me there before pre-camp. And then pre-camp, my coach, he really didn't, like, he wasn't rushing me to get back. He really wanted me to take my time. So, like, my first couple games, I was on restricted minutes. He wasn't rushing me. He wanted me to be at my full potential at like, later on in the season, and when it mattered, like, not necessarily at this point when I felt like it mattered. 5th game of the season, we played Lindsey Wilson. We get to Lindsey Wilson, I'm like, in them first couple practices, I was finally starting to feel like myself. And Lindsey Wilson game, I had finally, like, had my legs under me, like I was good. And one of my teammates drove to the basket, and I was trying to get out of the lane, and my man stepped up to try to block her shot and failed. And as I was trying to get out of the lane, she fell on my leg, and she tore my MCL and my knee. And I laid on the floor screaming. It had to be for like 20 minutes. But it wasn't even so much that I was hurting. It was because I was scared. Like, I thought I had tore my ACL. And I thought I was done. Like, in the mid, like, really? The 5th game of my senior season, I done tore my ACL? Like, and all I could do was scream, like, God, please no, please no. And when they finally got me off the floor, and I was able to kind of, like, put a little pressure on it, when we got to the table with my trainer, and I was telling him where it hurt at, and he was like, nah, it's not your ACL. And they have to do like test or whatever, my ACL was still there. She was like, nah, but I think it's your MCL. So after that game, I think we ended up losing that game by 2. And I go have an MRI done like 2 days later, and he's of course I tore my MCL. So it put me out 4 to 6 weeks. I think it was 4 to 6 weeks, or was it 6 to 8? I don't remember. But the thing with your MCL is it heals itself, depending on how torn it is. Like, it wasn't completely torn. It just had like half of it was torn, and it heals on its own. Like, it regenerates and heals on its own. But you just have to let it heal. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't really do nothing except for rehab and ice and all of that. So it wasn't any surgery or anything required, which I was thankful for that. And I went through, like, okay, maybe I could be ready at 4 weeks. 4 weeks would have put me at, like, right before Christmas. I would have been able to play, which eventually I just saw that it wasn't being realistic. But at that point, I was able to walk without a brace and all of that. So I was okay when I got home. I didn't really have to stay in my brace. I came to grips with my life at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying, basketball ain't just it for me. Aside from everything that it's put in my life for me to be able to do, it put me in a situation to be able to, every time I came home, I was talking to kids and just telling them this same story, like, you know what I'm saying, how I was able to get away, how I was able to get school paid for. So it gave me something to talk about, and I realized that that's what my passion was. I was okay with it. After I had that talk with God, when I was landing the MRI thing, like, I was good. I didn't stress about it or nothing like that. And I asked him for me to be able to be healthy, to finish my season and not be in any pain. And I didn't want to finish in a brace. And I ended up getting out of my brace 4 weeks earlier than my trainer thought I was gonna get out. And I was out before senior night, and my family got a chance to come down and see me play at home. So they saw me for senior night, and I was out for the playoffs. So I was healthy when the playoffs came. I wasn't hurting, unlike last year, the year prior when we got to the national tournament. In the game, after the game, when the game was over, I had so much fun in that game, and like my adrenaline was pumping. So then when I came out the game, and we went in the locker room and I took my shoe off, I knew I had completely broke my foot. I knew it was done. So I had played that whole second half of my season the year before with a broken foot. And this year I didn't want that pain. Like, I just wanted to finish healthy. Like, if this was gonna be my last ride, I wanted to finish it healthy. And he did that for me. Like, I didn't hurt. After the game, I was good. So that was, I don't think it was no better way for me to end my career. Like, everything just kind of came full circle for me, for my senior night, and just for making the national tournament and being able to get to the second round and all of that. Aside from the stuff that I was going through off the court with my teammates or whatever, like, my career came full circle for me. Like, it ended, I don't think it could have ended any better other than winning the championship. Like, but I ended at peace with everything that I wanted to do. And ultimately, it put me in a situation to be better at what I wanted to do, and it showed me what my passion was for what was next for me, and that being my mentoring and just wanting to reach out to kids and just be that middleman that it seemed like, you know what I'm saying, God was putting into my life in all of those points that I needed one. Because obviously, just throughout my story, obviously he was just putting the right people in my life for the right specific things. Like, I just had built the right relationships to be put in the right place. So I just want to be that to every, like, you know what I'm saying, any kid I can be that to. Like, if I could just put you in the right position to be successful. I don't want no credit, I don't want no money, I don't want none of that. I just want to put you in the right position to do whatever it is you want to do, because that's what somebody did for me. And in the midst, that's being able for me to even be here to sit in front of the camera and tell anybody that. So the opportunities that basketball presented for me, it's dope. Like, you know what I'm saying, I got to travel the country and all of that, but the lessons and everything that I learned from the things that I went through with basketball is the stuff that is making me into the woman I am, because I learned from all of it. Like, it's nothing that the game didn't teach me. It taught me so many other things other than the things that I learned on the court. It taught me stuff about life. So So those things I carry with me to this day. And I, you know what I'm saying, the love and passion I have for basketball, I'm always gonna have it. So that's that, man.